Hello and welcome to the Silver King's War. I'm Michael Sievers, the writer, producer, and creator of this podcast series about my father's Second World War as a B-26 bombardier. Today we continue in the epilogue for Dearest Ones, the letters that our hero, the Silver King, wrote to his family throughout the war. It's August 1945, and our hero, the Silver King, remains in Europe, waiting patiently as he can, being frustrated and unhappy at the same time, and hoping for news about what the plan is to get him home to the States and his family. Stanley wrote 2 letters to his family in August of 1945, and the first was written after a 27-day interval between his letters to home. That interval, almost a month, reflected what was going on for Stanley as he was being moved from place to place, being told various stories about how he would get home. And of course, as we left him in July, he was signing off for his last time, so he thought, from France in writing to his parents that he would be home soon. Now the king has penned a 3-page letter, which is dated August 6, 1945, and he writes, from Paris, in parentheses, capital S-T-I-L-L, exclamation point, still. Dearest Ones, at the moment you're probably thinking very badly of me, for which you have very good reason, and for which I cannot deny is totally my fault. If I have caused you undue worry, and I know I have, I am extremely sorry. You must know I haven't done so intentionally. It is just one of those incidents when my foresight has failed, and as usual, after the harm is done, I shall make an earnest attempt to explain why. As to what has actually taken place since my last letter, can be summed up into a few words. I left the bomb group July 11th, just as I had written I would. Arriving in Paris the same afternoon, I was sent to a depot located at Le Bourg on the outskirts of the city. And from that day until now, I have been here awaiting shipment. It seems that upon my arrival, the policy for sending men out suddenly changed, not insofar as sending them home, but rather as to how and when. Before I arrived, the usual length of time a man waited to be shipped was 6 to 8 days. After being here 4 weeks, you can easily see how it has changed. It seems to be the usual run of my ill luck. I should have known that going home wouldn't be as easy as it sounded. However, my one consolation is that I am going eventually. I still haven't any idea of when I shall leave, not even a rumor. It may be tomorrow, or it may be another month. They don't tell me anything, so I just live from day to day. That's why I haven't written until now, thinking that each day will be the one, and I would reach home before the letter. But after a month of waiting, I figure it's been long enough. Perhaps now I will leave. As to my mode of travel, that too is still a mystery. Some are going by boat, but the majority are going by air. So my chances are pretty good to fly, much better than I had expected. As you know, by boat I will dock in New York, but by air I will land in Miami. Either way, though, I wouldn't be able to see you until I received my leave. I shall have to report to Fort McPherson in Atlanta upon landing, and will get my leave from there. I shouldn't have to spend more than a day in Atlanta, so it will be easier for me if you waited in Birmingham for me. Besides, I wouldn't be able to let you know the date of my arrival until I was able to call you. The Army will probably fly me to Atlanta whenever I land, and I'll fly by Delta from Atlanta if I can get a seat. It's still hard to believe that I'm actually leaving this ill-fated land to go home. Believe me, a year over here, away from home and the States, does a lot to change your outlook on some things. There are so many little things that were taken for granted before but are cherished now. I'm afraid you'll find me a little more appreciative in every respect. I'm certainly at a loss as to the news there, not having received any mail for over a month. You'll have lots to tell me. My one hope is that Lee didn't have to go. I do hope this finds you well and happy. I may not write again since you know the situation. I'm fine other than being disgusted with the delay. Love to Ida. I love you and miss you. Stan. P.S. If I get any phone calls, just say you expect me any day. Thanks, Stan. Over the years of reading and researching the Silver King's War, every time I read each letter, and I've read them many times, I'm struck by the new things I learn between the lines, the sensitive nature of the king's world in those days, and getting a sense of what he must have felt in terms of doing his work, his job, and having to wait so long for things to happen, really struck me in so many ways. I really have learned a great deal of empathy for what the men at war experienced, and not just our hero, the Silver King, but of course every man and woman had their war, home or away. They struggled with each day, and that was certainly true for the king as he waited near Paris in the summer of 1945. The Silver King's August letters are wrapped within the week of the atomic weapons that the United States dropped on Japan before the middle of August of 1945. His first letter dated August 6th, and his second was dated August 13th, 1945, again from Paris. Dearest Ones, I had hoped I wouldn't be writing again from this side of the world, but it seems all my hopes have been in vain. Since my last letter, there have been no new developments. The waiting goes on and on, with no relief in sight. I'm sure you, along with many millions, are awaiting the final surrender of Japan, and I'm quite sure it will have come by the time you receive this. Yes, how very wonderful it is to have peace once again. The war's ending, and my going home, eventually, is to be sure all I could want. Perhaps when the final word comes, it will expedite the shipments and I'll get out of here. At any rate, it should help solve the problem. It's been 5 weeks now, and I should have been there long ago. To be truthful, all the excitement of going home has been taken out of me, though I'm sure it will return once I'm actually on the way. You know, with the war being over, I shouldn't be a bit surprised if I were to receive a discharge upon my return. I understand quite a few have been released with less than 85 points. Up until May 12th, I only managed to accumulate 77 points. However, with an additional 4 months here, or 3 here and 2 there, I will reach 85. I shouldn't be declared essential. At least I've got something to look forward to. Wouldn't it be grand? I can't imagine what being a civilian would be like, though I'm sure it wouldn't take me long to acclimate myself. This being without word from you for so long is not any fun. I sincerely hope you're well and happy. You'll have lots of news to tell me, and I pray it's all good. Well, I should be home soon, so start planning to get really drunk with me. We'll have lots to talk about and lots to drink about. Tell Ida she had better start planning to do lots of cooking too. Give her my love. I'll write again next week if I am still here. I love you and miss you, Stan. Our hero, the Silver King, is writing and breathing a little easier these days as he is following the news about what's going on in the Pacific and with the imminent surrender of Japan. The king knows that he won't have to think about going overseas again, and his optimism about a possible discharge as he accumulates points while waiting to get home means he's more hopeful than he's been in a while. And with his hopefulness, we have reached the end of this episode in the epilogue for Dearest Ones, the letters that our hero, the Silver King, wrote to his family throughout the war. And this is part 41. And you are listening to the Silver King's War.